Welcome back to the EC Network. I'm Julia and I'm here with my horse Rumba, and today I'm going to show you how you can have the perfect posting trot. I have a few tips I'm going to share in today's video to make riding the posting trot easier and more effortless. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is when you're riding the posting trot, it's really important to maintain a balanced riding position. What does this mean? This means making sure that I'm maintaining my ear, shoulder, hip, ankle alignment. Now, I'm going to come out of that a little bit with my hip in the posting phase of the rising trot, but overall we want to maintain that same posture. We're going to go out and pick up the trot. Rumba is ready to go, and I'll explain it as we're in movement. I'm going to pick up the posting trot and talk through this. So the first thing I want to make sure is that I'm resting with my weight on my thigh. So the majority of the contact I'm having with the saddle is actually on the flat part of my femur. And I'll put a graphic up on the screen here to show you what I mean, what part of the thigh I want resting along the saddle. Then when I'm in the rising phase, I'm thinking about just a slight transfer of weight. So I'm going from it being on the flat part of my thigh to this part of my thigh. It's just a simple transfer of energy. I'm also not going to put a ton of work into how far I come out of the saddle. I'm going to let Rumba's movement of her hip push me out of the saddle. If I start working really hard, it gets, first of all, pretty ugly, and it's a lot harder. She's not really sure what I'm doing. I'm having to land much harder. So instead, I'm just going to let her movement move me. She's got a pretty smooth trot, but if a horse was a little bit of a bigger mover, she would probably be throwing me more out of the saddle. I'm also trotting on the correct diagonal, meaning I am in the rising phase of the trot when her front outside leg comes forward. In this case, we're tracking counterclockwise, so her right leg is coming forward as I'm rising. This allows the horse to have better balance because I'm loading my majority of my weight during the seated phase on the inside hind leg, which for balance purposes makes it much easier for her on a circle like this. Again, we want to make sure we're keeping that same posture of ear, shoulder, hip, ankle. If I press too hard in my heels and I push my leg forward, we lose all forward movement. It's a lot harder. I'm having to work a lot harder in the post. Same thing if I go too far back, right? This is, first of all, very unsafe. Second of all, she's trying to go faster to catch my weight that's rolling forward. So we want to just be in this nice balanced position. I also want to think about leading with the bottom of my zipper. So that's where my posting or my rising is coming from. And I can sort of put my hand down here to get that feeling of rising, starting with the bottom of my zipper. What this allows us to do is switch the mindset from, a lot of times riders will lead with their chest, right? And you want to just push from up here. That's not what we want to do. It's going to collapse you forward. So If I think about leading with the bottom of my zipper, it's going to put my pelvis in the correct position, and I'll be able to easily post and follow her movement. If you're having trouble finding this place of contact with your thigh, what you can practice is something called the wind victory. So what this basically is, I'm going to do it here at standstill, is I'm going to stand and I'm just going to let my weight sink down until I'm sort of sitting on the pommel of my saddle, but I have the contact right through here on the saddle on my thigh. That's where I want to feel the contact, where I want my thigh to be meeting the saddle. I'm going to slide back down and try to maintain that exact movement, or same exact contact in this seated position. Along with this, again, making sure that our pelvis is in the correct position, it's perpendicular to the ground, that my seat bone is grounded in the saddle. And I'm going to show you just posting here, standing. We're not going to have that motion of her, but I want to be able to show it to you in a little bit more detail. So here, if I was in the rising phase, it's going to be hard to not push. But we don't want to push onto the stirrups. We just want to let the transfer of weight on our thigh. You'll almost see my thigh muscle rolls. It's all coming from this part of my body. None of this, none of this. When we push down, we're pushing down on the horse's back. So why do we rise the trot? We want to spend less time on the horse's back. So the rising trot, when we're out, we want to go at a little bit of a faster trot. It allows us to ride it easier. It's much more comfortable than sitting, but we're not also spending so much time just statically sitting on the horse's back. So I hope you have found this video helpful. If you have questions on the posting trot, please put them in the comments below. I'd love to help you out, and we'll see you next week.